No Game, No Life, Volume 7, Chapter 2, Part 5. Whodunnit, Overthinking. To swoon at the sight of my build at the height of its glory. Oh dear, it seems I've enraptured another one, have I? As that meathead Eno bathed, he recalled the trials of his youth, a time he was way too popular, which pissed Sora off to his core. Hey, old fart, can you answer a question that's just hit me? Sora struggled not to look directly at the werebeast as he asked in a low voice, though shrunken down to 3.6 years of age. Isn't going naked in public an infringement of rights, a breach of the Ten Covenants? Eno looked down at Sora and answered with a smile. No one will trouble themselves over such a small thing as that. Why do you not live true to your desires? I'm asking you if showing off the shock image you call throbbing muscles is considered an act of violence. You never get sarcasm, do you? And don't call it small. It's just 'cause of my age. Sora insisted that several of his parts had shrunk along with his count of dice. A simple partition divided the bathtub. Shiro's hand softly trembled as she held Sora's underneath it, no doubt a consequence of having been deeply traumatized by the aforementioned act of violence. So scary. Ugh, the muscles. They're coming for me. The little sister chanted deliriously, having been punished more harshly than she deserved for cheating the ratings. Likewise, from the other side of the screen came another voice. You rouse me from my tranquil sleep to insist that I wash Shiro's hair. Is that not violence as well? What could I do? Shiro's still all mad at Jabril, you know. Steph grumbled sleepily, dragged in by Jabril like the flow of a river. Sora couldn't see what lay beyond the partition, but Steph, having received 6 dice from Shiro, was aged 12.6 as she washed Shiro's hair. The bubbling sound was surely Jabril getting stomped down to the bottom of the bath by Shiro. How lackadaisically you hand away your dice, sir. Do you not know they are your life? Doubt, confusion. Eno's mumbling was filled with countless meanings. Feeling the gazes collect from the other side of the partition, Sora sighed. What's the big deal? 1 or 10 is the same as long as you don't go to 0. Plus, he waved his hand frivolously and gestured toward Steph with his chin. We're all in the same boat. Our vitality is like 0. There's no way in hell we'd survive. A silence followed, suggesting a number of emotions and intentions, but Sora gave a light wave of his hand as if to dismiss it all. He changed the subject in an attempt to hide his embarrassment. Anyway, what are you guys even doing here? Especially you, Pops. What about you? Even though you two did end up being lifesavers, Sora thought. Naturally, I came to kill your punk ass, sir. Hey! At least couch it a little. You're gonna make me cry, damn it! Even if violence was prohibited by the Covenants, you'd be lying if, for instance, confronted by a body like Schwartzy's in his prime, you said hearing a robot tell you you are terminated wasn't scary. However, my mind has changed. Let us save your death for last. Oh, I see how it is. I'll kill you last. Everyone knew what came next. I lied. Shit, I'm on his list! Sir, may I inquire as to the extent of your knowledge of Eastern Union history? The Sora had been furiously contemplating how to escape. Sudden question made him redirect his train of thought. I bet this is one of those questions that gives you a chance to avoid the death flag. History, you say. Didn't you guys cover up almost all of your history? Sora answered gingerly, choosing his words. Yes, the Eastern Union concealed from outsiders not only the content of their games, but also the details of their history. Probably because it touched on the process by which they developed their trump card, video games. But anyway. So all I know is a smattering from books. They say for over 6,000 years you were a bunch of feuding island tribes. At the conclusion of the Great War, the werebeasts split factions based on their physical attributes. In other words, whether they had dog or cat ears, and continued fighting among themselves. In Sora's view, this was a truly unforgivable travesty. Why must one be placed above the other? A wise man once said, "Heaven did not create animal ears above animal ears." Dog ears, cat ears, rabbit ears, all are equal. Can one not love each for its own merits? Thus, let us envelop the words in love, for it is not meant that such treasures should fight. That said, without naming names, isn't there a world where people kill their own palette swaps? With this in mind, they were in no position to criticize. On the contrary. Then you got them all under your control in half a century to form the world's third largest country, the Eastern Union, which even had a game that could beat any other race for sure. This inestimable feat, for which amazing didn't even cut it, was worth every word of exclamation and praise you could throw at it. Sure, in this world, there were 16 intelligent life forms, exceeds. Wouldn't organizing just one of them be easy? To conquer a karmic morass engulfed in discrimination and prejudice for over 6,000 years, you say? If we just had someone like the Shrine Maiden back there, I bet some of those wars would end. How you surprise me. What do you mean? I thought you'd say it made sense that such a feat would be accomplished with the power of an old deus. But Eno's prattling was the real surprise. Whoa there, Gramps. You really do know some funny jokes. Stopping the water and laughing out loud, Sora looked up at the vast game board. We're talking about subjugating a region that's been in conflict for half a century here. If you could pull off a miracle like that by praying to gods, even our world would be a war-free zone by now. Sure, this game spoke to the power of the old deus eloquently. To copy the land and warp the law of heaven to place this spiraling terrain in the sky. If you calculated the energy required for this in terms of physics, what kind of numbers would we be talking about? Sora had no idea, but they had to be close to infinite. Work of God, if there ever was one. Such unimaginable, world-rewriting, truth-decreeing power. And yet, such things were entirely useless. In this world, no matter how much power you had, you couldn't infringe on others' rights. Moreover, in any world, ending conflict aside, there was only one way to conquer. Here's what I think. If there's an old deus behind the Shrine Maiden who could pull off such games. Sora spoke to Ino as though looking at someone he respected with all his heart. The Shrine Maiden's the one using the old deus, by outsmarting her at games, of course. They were bound by the covenants not to infringe on others' rights, both of them. For the Shrine Maiden to use the old deus, or for the old deus to use the Shrine Maiden, required one to get the other to consent to a game, and win. Is that it? Indeed, O holy shrine maiden. At the end of a long silence, Ino's gaze and shoulders fell, as if understanding something. He chuckled. It seems I have bathed a bit long. I shall take my leave. Thanks, bro. After managing to find a hot spring, I'd really like to relax and enjoy it without your muscles staring me down. Sora watched Ino climb out of the tub and make his exit. The young man silently heaved a sigh of relief at having apparently avoided the death flag. But, by the way, may I ask one last question? Sora's heart jumped as Ino suddenly turned and spoke, pretending he hadn't noticed, though he must have. Ino asked, no, insisted. The traitor who has the memories. King Sora, it is you, isn't it? Steph could be heard gasping from the other side of the partition. If Ino was right, it would explain how Sora was able to expound about the game as if he knew it all. Wondering whether that was indeed what they were thinking, Sora smirked. Well, what evidence do you have that I am the traitor? My word, is evidence necessary? Inu eyed him keenly to say he needed no such thing. Or together all the Exceeds and say there was one traitor. In all cases, it would by necessity be you. I like it. It's easy to understand. Nice deduction. Your presence is all the evidence I need, bitch, was Inu's contention, to which Sora clapped his hands, laughing. Yes, they had all agreed to begin this game. They took the rules at face value. This traitor must have tricked everyone into validating the rules and agreeing to have their memories erased. You're the only asshole who could pull this off. Inu praised him. But, well then, let me say I'd start off by doubting Tat. Sora continued, if I may expand upon that. There's no way I'd go to such impossible lengths for such a cheap trick. As well as Steph and Jabril behind the partition, gasped in disbelief. Silently, they questioned his assertion that memory retention, and by extension, knowledge of true conditions for victory, was a cheap trick. Sora smirked. A lie should have been embedded within the second explanation of the rules, but between the first and the second, it wasn't possible to fit a grand falsehood. Learning that their memories would be erased, everyone's first concern would have been the same. The risk of being told that finishing made you win, only to discover it actually made you lose. They must have agreed in advance to prohibit such a grandiose deception. But in that case, what falsehood could there be? No, more importantly, don't you think, before that, I'd worry about food and transportation? If we hadn't scored a Harley, then screw fishing. We might not even have survived to our next stop. Ugh. This is quite convincing indeed. Sora nodded, now clear of suspicion by the pointed pain known only to those who survived the same dire straits. Yes, a trick like that hardly assured victory, whereas Blank's method was always the same. Namely, if we're going to plant something, it's going to be deadly. Yes, that was it. It's going to make us win no matter what. Sora put his elbow on the bathtub, chin in hand, and stared straight at Ino. His words were bold yet amicable. That's what I would do. It's what anyone would do, right? Of course. Isn't that what you would have done? I see. You do have a point. Eno trudged away, no longer turning back, but Sora called rather timidly after him. By the way, can I ask you a question too? What is it? That thing of yours. It's like the size of my arm. Is it always like that? Or only in emergencies? Chuckling, Eno kept walking. Unlike you, King Sora, I have consideration for the feelings of others. As I have no intention of inflicting unnecessary wounds, sir, I shall decline to answer and leave it at that. That is an answer, isn't it? Isn't it? Sora howled angrily as Eno walked away, roaring with laughter, when, poink. Master, surely there is no need to lend your ears to the prattle of dogs. Apparently, having finally been let off the hook by Shiro, Jabril peeked over the partition. Do they not also say in your world, my masters, all things in moderation? It is of no particular advantage to a woman for it to be too big. Sora could feel the ladies all nodding behind the partition, but I'm feeling an unprecedented sense of isolation. Could it be? Good Lord, it is the case that I am, in fact, the only one lacking in experience? If so, I'll never recover from such a harsh reality, he lamented. Please be at ease, master, for I am myself in mint condition, while little Dora here is a font of merely academic sexual— What? No. Wait, I can't deny or affirm that, can I? I mean, however you look at it, Sora's arm, whether you've got experience or not, that would kill! I don't even care. Everything about that old fart is creepy, scary. Sora's eyes narrowed as if dazzled by the responses. Thank God, it wasn't just me. May I also add that, prior to its attenuation by the dice, your original size, master, is nothing to grieve over. Seriously? I'm okay? Not 2 dice Sora, now 3.6 years of age. Sora as Sora's original metrics. Putting aside how Jabril had come by such information, this walking library, flying cataclysmic library, vouched for it, that perhaps he could. Yes, it's fun-sized. If memory serves, it should be perfect for a child. Jabril, you're forgiven. You just said the best thing. I'm done with this game. I quit. Back to character creation. Yes, let us begin life anew. Sora wept. Oh, master, please wait. All your humble servant Jabril must do is reform her body into that of a child. Jabril, you're unforgiven. Sink in the bathtub and count your sins. Shiro's command was met with a loud splash. Shiro dropped like a cannonball from the top of the partition into the tub. Oh, I am being stomped by Master. What a thrill! Jabril, where'd you go? Sending up a flurry of bubbles and going to the trouble of employing magic, apparently, Jabril shoved this report directly into their brains. Sora sighed, exhausted. Their peaceful banter was ill-suited to this game of betrayal, deception, and murder. Ah, I'm revived. The magic of Elven Hot Springs is said to do wonders for one's beauty and fatigue. Steph was the only one who seemed to have given up on thought. She went on endlessly babbling, what a nice bath. to herself as if fleeing reality.